It seemed a good way to begin the service for National Indigenous Peoples Day, which is June 21st, and which is part of the National Indigenous History Month. I'm Brian Gifford, a lay leader. My pronouns are he, him. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the Universalist Unitarian community of Halifax. This year, we are without a minister for the first time in many years, but we are still here with all of our passion, love, and commitment to a better world. And the blessing of this year without a minister is that all our services are being led by diverse members within and outside of our community, and that only serves to make our community stronger. This morning's service is brought to you by the members of the Reconciliation and Dismantling Racism group of the UUCH, or the RDR committee for short. If you'd like to join us, please talk to me later. This morning, our new interim musical accompanist, Carol Westall, is unable to join us, laid low by COVID. We wish her well. So we'll rely on all of you even more than normal to carry the tune. We're in the process of revamping our religious exploration children's program, so we will have activities for children again in September. We are people of many paths who are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, but we are aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good. We have radical roots and a history as self-motivated spiritual people. We think for ourselves, and we recognize that life experience is the strongest influence on our beliefs. If you are new here, we welcome you. If we haven't seen you for a while, welcome back. I don't see, is there anyone new who would like to introduce themselves? Or who hasn't been here for a while? If you would like to, we can bring you a microphone. If not, we will go on. If you would like to be on our email distribution list, please leave your name and email address in the book in the ballroom. There will be coffee, tea, and shortbread after the service. We look forward to getting to know each other more. I draw your attention to the announcements in the order of service and would like to highlight a few that are coming soon. The last Saturday brunch for 23-24, that is for this school year, is on June 15th. It will restart in September as long as there are volunteers to run it. Please contact Michael Smith if you're interested. All are welcome. This program is not funded from our budget, but is funded by direct contributions from our members and friends. You can make a donation at any time via e-transfer to treasurer@uuch.ca or send your check to the church. The UUCH Community Barbecue will be after the service next Sunday. Please bring salad, dessert, or drinks to share. Hamburgers and hot dogs will be provided. We hope that there are many hands to help set up before and clean up after, and of course there will be music, fun, and it will be sunny. We know that through divine revelation. A new member service is being planned for June 30th in 2 weeks. If you are interested in becoming a member and we haven't already spoken with you, please contact Joe Brito. Joe asked me to thank some people who've been involved in making the community run well. We run on all our pledges and the volunteers who donate their time and effort. This week, we'd like to thank Mary Lou McDonald, Margaret Galbraith, Amy Moonshadow, Marilyn Chenier, Pam Griffin-Hody, and James Morris, collectively known as the Worship Committee, for the great work they've done in maintaining and developing services in this time we've been without a minister. Margaret Galbraith for organizing last Sunday's enlightening climate fresque. Kath Anthony for tirelessly opening the church and making coffee for all of us on Sundays. If you're drinking coffee right now, it's because of her. And our volunteer board for managing the day-to-day life of our community. We wish to welcome you, your whole self, with all your truths and your doubts, your worries and your hopes. Find out what it means to live your deepest values out loud. Join us on this extraordinary adventure of faith. Before we go any further, though, we must acknowledge the truth of this land. Climate Committee member Margaret Galbraith has our land acknowledgement today.
Thank you, Brian. We are meeting this morning in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded home of the Mi'kmaq people. Also home of the hemlocks, the spruce, beaver, salmon, and moose, and all the larger and smaller creatures of the land and sea and lakes that is now home to all of us as well who share this place. Today we also share the changing climate and the effects on the land and sea. Here in Halifax, there's a new initiative, well, it was new to me, called Everyone Everyday Chibuktuk Halifax, which is a truth and reconciliation initiative being led by the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. And I found out all about it by picking up this newspaper, which was just lying around in our hallway for the last, I don't know, several weeks probably. It is all about this project, which this was their spring program, which went from March till May. So of course I missed it all by the time I read about it. They're hoping to have a summer program start in July. And much of the introduction in the newspaper is about the relationship between the Mi'kmaq and the climate. Climate action is seen as an act of reconciliation for people with the Indigenous peoples. Locally, they're focusing on the North End. Operating out of the Gottingen Street neighborhood shop, which is at 2169 Gottingen Street, there are all manner of fun and practical activities led by community members for community members, and all while learning about the Indigenous ways of doing things and how the climate is affected by and affects itself everything that is going on. There's an excellent video about the work on their website. The website itself is called halifaxiseveryone.ca, all one word. You may recognize Debbie Eisen in this video. She was the elder who worked with Norm Horofker to create and present the 10-week Truth and Reconciliation program that a number of us took years ago, like maybe 2017 or so. And you might also see the flying figure of Mary Frances. She was participating in one of the dance programs. She just happened to be there that day, and they were taking videos, and there she is. In this space for neighbors to meet and do fun and useful things together, they're also finding practical ways to act together for the climate. To quote the newspaper introduction from this, from the Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center, now more than ever, we need to come together to protect the natural environment and renew relationships with the planet for generations to come. So I'm very hopeful that the summer program will lead to such further action for the climate.
You're doing the chalice lighting and the opening thing.
Yes, yes. I have more jobs this morning. The chalice lighting. We enter into this time that we call worship, where we turn with intention to the things that are worthy of our attention, and we do this by lighting a chalice. Thanks, Brian. The chalice lighting words are, I believe, in your order of service. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. And our opening song this morning, which I'm sure we can all do together, is The Spirit of Life in the Gray Hymn Book, number 123. Stand if you are able. Should have brought a pitch pipe or something. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion,
Well done. We were in tune. Thank you, Margaret. June is National Indigenous History Month. You could be forgiven for thinking, wait a minute, don't we celebrate that in the fall? October is Mi'kmaq History Month. One is federal and the other is provincial, so we get 2 months each year to pay particular attention to the Mi'kmaq people. Our neighbors, who are descendants of people who have lived here in Mi'kma'ki for over 10,000 years. Indigenous people in Canada are First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. There are about 1.8 million Indigenous people in Canada today, or about 5% of our population. There are over 630 First Nations communities in Canada, which represent more than 50 nations and 50 Indigenous languages. For generations, many Indigenous groups and communities have celebrated their culture and heritage on June 21st, or around that time of year, because of the significance of the summer solstice as the longest day of the year. Since 1996, it has been celebrated as National Indigenous Peoples' Day in Canada, in addition to being celebrated as the summer solstice. The ingathering music we listened to while we settled into this space was the Mi'kmaq Honor Song, which you have likely heard before. Kepmetet Nej, or the Mi'kmaq Honor Song, was received in the Sweat Lodge by George Paul in the 1980s, a singer-songwriter from the Metapanasiac First Nation, or Red Bank First Nation in New Brunswick. George has been, whoops, I can see I was wandering from the microphone. I hope everyone stayed with me there. George has been involved with the traditional movement in reviving Mi'kmaq songs, chants, and ceremonies for over 30 years. This song features a combination of meaningful text in Mi'kmaq and vocables, which are non-words. It is generally repeated 4 times. In the order of service, you will see the Mi'kmaq words on the flip side of the insert, insert inside your program, and how to say them phonetically and an English translation. I'll read the English translation. Let us greatly respect our being Linu, which is the Mi'kmaq word for the people. My people, let us gather. Let us greatly respect our native roots. My people, let us help one another. Let us help one another as Creator intended when He put us on the earth. And my understanding is that this song, along with many other traditional elements of Mi'kmaq culture, which have been revived in the last 30 years, especially with the help of George Paul, have turned around the lives of many, many Mi'kmaq people and have helped them feel more rooted and grounded in their own culture and be able to thrive. Now we will take the time to recognize our collective and individual joys and sorrows and complex truths. We bring our hearts into this sacred space of community, and we open them up to each other, for each other, so that those of us who carry pain might be comforted by the presence of a loving community, and so that those of us who are happy and well might share our joy and see it multiply in others. And so those of us who carry complex truths might find a welcoming space to process and make meaning of all that life brings. So if you have a story, a joy, sorrow, or complex truth on your heart that needs to be spoken in community, we invite you to share. And we invite you to light a candle to mark your story and remind you that you are not alone. We have a handheld mic here, and I'll bring it to anyone who wants to use it. You can come up and face people and speak to them. And I'm not familiar with which is on and which is off. Is that on or off? You probably know how to use it.
So, a joy. So August 15 is when our new minister, Reverend Ben Robbins, will be here. And this was an idea from Mary Frances. And it's basically joys. So it's basically, the idea was that we could all write down on these bits of paper things that we love about Halifax. and things that we do. So it may be going to a coffee shop, it may be going to Peggy's Cove, it may be whatever it may be, and writing it down. And then on August 18, we'll be doing a potluck for Ben to kind of welcome him here, and Mary Frances was going to present it to him. So we're going to leave this out for, I'll remind you like every week, but we'll leave it here and we'll leave it outside. So just kind of grab a pen, write something down as a way to kind of welcome him. So I guess the joy is sharing our joys about Halifax as well as welcoming a new minister.
Is there anyone else?
We continue to remember our friend Glenda Butt, who's still in the hospital, still not doing very well. But, that wasn't on? We continue to remember our friend Glenda Butt, who's still in the hospital on dialysis, and we hope to see her home soon. Glenda Butt.
Oh my God.
You remember Glenda? Anybody else?
Glenda is still one of my best friends, whether she's in the hospital or elsewhere. But I want to communicate a joy, which I probably have done before. I have a great grandson, Alexander Perlinger, and he loves music. He sings. And not only does he love music, but he can sing in a language that he hasn't learned and doesn't hear at home. He sang Freude schöner Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium. I just gave you the words, but the music goes, Freude schöner Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten freudetrunken, himmlische dein Heiligtum. Deine Zauber binden wieder, was die Mode strenge teilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt. Now I need to give you a little bit of a translation what this is about. It says, joy, you spark of the gods. You will unite us all, and all of us will become brothers and sisters, where your gentle gentle wings prevail.
Did you have something?
Yes, please pray for my next door neighbor has just been given a cancer diagnosis, and so he is on tenterhooks waiting to see what treatments will be.
What's her name?
His name is Vern.
We'll light a candle for Vern. Yeah, I just have a joy because our very own Riley over there, he graduated from his program at Nova Scotia Community College this week.
Anyone else? Are there any people online, Riley? No? Okay. I will light one more candle for joys and concerns and complex truths that remain unspoken and in the hearts of people. Our reflective hymn this morning may be the first time we've tried it. So since we don't have an accompanist, we have video. We're relying a lot on video today. A video from a church, a Unitarian church in Baltimore that will help us along. So hopefully you can sing with it. It's hymn 196, Singer of Life. And it's Indigenous based, so that's why we chose it today. And Riley will have it up on the screen any moment. There you go. Thank you. I think we again held the tune. So the first reflection, again, this is going to be a video. We're going to watch a video about the Mi'kmaq Debert Cultural Center that is about 20 minutes west of Truro.
I've known about it for a long time. I've talked about it, and it was part of our oral history.
The whole area and what was going on there. And how sophisticated and how advanced it was, things that they did, you know.
This is what my people did, and I would like to experience the same thing myself too, so I can appreciate them that much more.
Everyone has been working so hard. We just need this for our people. I've just put my heart into it because I believed in it so much. I hope I live to see the day when that's in place. I pray to see that day.
People came here to study the hunting territories of Dominguez in late 1800s, early 1900s. Then in 1911 to 12, and did a little bit more study. And then came in 1930. And then 51, 52, they picked up a lot of our traditional outfits and artifacts for the Smithsonian. And then in 1989, the tree breeding nursery found a tree that fell over, and it unearthed a number of artifacts, Paleo-Indian artifacts. So I said, we should protect this area.
I received a letter from Don Julian. It was inviting me to become a member of the Elder Advisory.
So I said, okay, I'll go take a look and see what's happening. And I'm still looking, so.
Most of the people that we have are educators, historians, and they have a lot of cultural background.
I've been on the Elders Advisory Council since the very beginning.
Just the opportunity to work with elders was in my glory.
I felt this was something that's in my interest, and I loved it, and I wanted to be part of it.
So we did a lot together. We became very close friends.
I so often recall the day that we went out to the site. I stood on that land, and I don't know what it was. A feeling came over me.
It's almost like you're in a different kind of world, almost like.
Get this feeling of home, like that you've been there before, and you're coming back to look at it again.
Just being there, you felt you belonged.
My ancestors walked on the same land that I'm standing on.
It was like they were there. I even shiver now when I think of it because it was such an amazing feeling.
And I probably should have knelt down because I realized this is sacred land. This is our sacred land.
When I realized that this is an area that was not just an encampment, but a whole village and community, I was flabbergasted.
Our people were living and working and surviving in this little piece of land 13,500 years ago.
I am humbled by the many challenges that our ancestors had faced, you know, the endurance and the courage. If that didn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today.
So it's a history. It's a history lesson for our people as well as others. Within the last 7 or 8 years, we've been involved with the Smithsonian.
The trip to Smithsonian was exciting. Oh, we went in there to see the artifacts that come from Nova Scotia. Oh, they were just fantastic. They were so beautiful. I was holding a moccasin, beautiful beadwork on that moccasin. Knives and
The tools and the medicines.
Items that were made like for fishing. There was even a broom. Baskets. Oh, the baskets was beautiful. You could still smell the tiny smell of the sweetgrass in them. The imagination of our people. I mean, I can't help but admire them. Those artifacts tell the story of who we were.
You can visualize the people that had actually used all those tools, eh?
Our people were masters at what they used to do back in the old days.
I've never seen so many artifacts in one location.
Why do you have to travel so far to see something come from your own community? Why couldn't they be in our area? It's my hope, and it's a hope of CMM, that these same artifacts will one day return to where they belong.
Back to where they belong, in Mi'kmaq territory.
Because a lot of our history, a lot of our written culture is lost.
I missed a lot growing up because I was in residential school for 10 years.
I used to speak the language, and then I went into the residential school and I stopped.
We're not allowed to speak our language that time. You get punished for it, huh?
Teachers tell me I'm stupid. I'm not going to go anywhere.
When I was going to school, they used a history book, and in that book, it basically depicted us as savages.
In the books, it was always the prime minister or the government or somebody else that did something. It was never about our people.
A lot of the things that my ancestors or my previous generations were doing are now beginning to fade away. I can't find anybody that will answer my questions. They're all gone. The people that I would turn to are all gone now.
When we lose an elder, we lose a lot. We need to keep our history alive.
We need something in place that would build it on and continue it long after I'm gone and forever and ever.
We're working towards developing a cultural center.
Bringing all of our knowledge and our creations together.
A living place where life abounds in our old Mi'kmaq ways.
A place for my children or grandchildren to be proud of the accomplishments that we've made.
And it's ours. This is ours.
It's very important to the whole community.
Not only the natives, I think it's good for the public.
To better understand who we are, where we come from, how long we've been here, historically, archaeologically, anthropologically, and how important we were to Mi'kmaq.
When you walk in, you would have that understanding. You will say, now I see.
Now we are going into the future. We're going to stand tall and proud because we are beautiful.
So this is an important story and an inspiring story about the creation of a center that is important to the Mi'kmaq and that will help those of us who are not Mi'kmaq understand their culture and history. You may have noticed in the descriptions of each of those people, they were elders from all across Mi'kmaq. They weren't just from one community, they were from many communities. And I don't know if you read about the story in the last year. Millbrook First Nation in the power center beside Highway 102 near Truro, they have a cultural center. And one of the things that happened in the last year was a full set of regalia that had been exchanged with someone from New Zealand and who'd taken it back to New Zealand, but who apparently had a very good relationship with Mi'kmaq people and was very respectful of them. And it ended up in a museum. I think it ended up in Australia ultimately. But this regalia was repatriated just in the last year, and it was a really moving story. And the person from that cultural center told it. I was at an event once where she told it, and it really was very moving to her and to all the people in that community. And that's the kind of thing that could happen with the Smithsonian artifacts that was talked about there. So I think what seems to happen in these kinds of situations is that they create the conditions that can protect the artifacts, which then make it more possible for that exchange to happen. And many institutions like the Smithsonian have been fairly good in recent years about being willing to repatriate them. So hopefully that'll happen here. On the website of the Mi'kmaq Debert Cultural Center, you can find the video that we just watched if you wanted to see it again, and there's a number of others that are shorter, including a series of elder stories and another series called Ancestors Live Here, about the significance of different places in Nova Scotia. So before they actually have a building, they're creating some of the history and the stories and the information on their website, and those are accessible to everybody, including you. So we're now going to listen to one of the elder stories about two-eyed seeing, and this is by Merdina Marshall. I've heard a lot about two-eyed seeing, but as you probably have, but Merdina has a slightly different approach to the idea. I noticed in yesterday's Chronicle Herald, in the editorial, they were talking about 16-year-old Donald Marshall, who's the son of Donald Marshall Jr., who was the very well-known leader who was wrongfully imprisoned for many years and who has fought and won many important cases related to Mi'kmaq rights. And this is his son, and he's just got a scholarship. I don't know if any of you saw it, but he's just got a very big scholarship to a university on the West Coast, based on partly on his description of what two-eyed seeing means. So it's another element of that whole idea, which was, I think, first initiated by Albert Marshall, one of the elders in Cape Breton. So we can hear what Merdina Marshall's take on it is.
It must be hard. I have a son who survives on one eye. But since he is educated and went through the process of learning the white man's way of reading and writing and all that stuff, he got everything from that eye that he learned visually from schools and everything. Then he got another lesson from us through the traditional eye. We speak the language, we do things that are Mi'kmaq. I remind them to feed Abugnajit, and I remind them the ceremonies that Mi'kmaq used to do. I tell them you don't have to kneel down and pray and praise God every morning. All you have to do is look out and look at the sun and thank the sun for shining today. If it didn't, it would be awfully cold and gloomy and all that stuff. I said, you have to think what God is doing for you. And you look through that eye. You learn that too. So when a native child or any other child, especially a native child, gets learning and knowledge from schools and high schools and universities and trade schools and all that they're learning the skills of life, how to survive in this world with some sort of a trade or a profession or something. But on the other eye, he learns from his elders and from his family. The eye that's important, because through that eye he sees how a tree and knows a tree is animate. On the other eye, when he goes into English, it's not animate. You can't make it animate. The whole world will laugh at you and take you away. But in your own world, which is the Mi'kmaq world, it's perfectly okay to talk to a tree, to a branch, to a flower, a fish, or the dog, or the moose, or anything that's alive out there. You have the right to talk to it as you would to another individual, because you yourself have given it life by giving it a pronoun same as humans. So you gave him that right to be respected by giving it a pronoun which is alive, or a concept knowing that he's alive, she's alive, or it's alive. And most of the world is she. This is a matriarchal world. And it's still very much in our language. People have a hard time distinguishing between he and she, because most of their life, which is Megama, their concept of the world is matriarchal. Then you jump into this world, and it's patriarchal, and there is no living things except for human beings. So carrying that message over, you have a difficult time of separating those two. But if you look through the two eyes and looking at the same concept and knowing in English it's not alive, but you know in Mi'kmaq it's alive. And you know being Mi'kmaq, you have to give it your full respect and attention. Otherwise you're defying your natural traditional world. And so being able to work in that same world and realizing that you're a Mi'kmaq person, and if I was doing this where there was only Mi'kmaq people, I'd do it differently. But because society allows me and demands for me to do this in order to progress, you have to take your traditional life with you, explain what your traditional life would allow you to do, and then do it their way.
There are a number of videos like that one. If you found that interesting, there are a number of other videos by elders and, as I said, talking about their different places.
Yeah, we went to Boston.
Places in in Nova Scotia that are of significance to Mi'kmaq people. And now Pam is going to lead a meditation.
In Braiding Sweetgrass, a poetic and profound book, Robin Wall Kimmerer describes the practice of saying the Thanksgiving address every day in a school in the Otonaga First Nation. She says it is a river of words as old as the people themselves, known more accurately as the words that come before all else. This ancient order of protocol sets gratitude as the highest priority. The gratitude is directed straight to the ones that share their gifts with the world, referring to the plants and animals surrounding us. So I invite you to contemplate gratitude today in a moment of silence. Community is made possible by the offering of our individual skills, commitments, and gifts. The truth is that we need each other and money to survive, and yet nobody's worth and dignity is in any way measured by the amount of money that they have or don't have to give. So during the offering, we invite you to offer what you can, if you can, to support this sanctuary of progressive spirituality. Today, any undesignated money in our collection bowl will go to the operation of this community. If you don't carry cash, you can donate by e-transfer to treasurer@uuch.ca. And Amy is going to come up now.
Our closing hymn is Find a Stillness, Hold the Stillness, Let the Stillness Carry Me. And I don't read music, so I don't know what. 353. 352 is what I have in my bulletin. 352. Find a stillness. So. As the stillness carry me, find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let the flower help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. The chalice extinguishing words are by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And Brian, thankfully, is extinguishing the chalice.
Thank you.
All right. And so, coffee and some great little cookies made by